Welcome back to Reviews and Rankings with Robbie Sobel. Today, I'm going to take a look at the 2025 film, Together. Together is a 2025 film written and directed by Michael Shanks and stars Alison Brie and Dave Franco. Together tells the story of a young couple named Tim and Millie that have been together for quite some time, but are not as close as they used to be. They decide to move away from their family and friends in the big city and into a small town where Millie has accepted a job as a school teacher. Jim continues his dream of being a musician, but continues to struggle. During a midday walk through a nearby trail, the couple encounter a dark secret that changes their lives forever. Alright, guys, I just got back from an early access screening of Together, written and directed by Michael Shanks. This film has been on my radar for quite some time, and has been a hot topic in the horror community. Now, while this film is a body horror movie, it goes a lot deeper and it is multi-layered. This film really is about codependency and the inability of people to be alone, and for settling for a partner that they shouldn't be with just so they can have someone by their side. This film deals with issues like lack of self-respect and self-esteem and self-confidence, and what you will do to get the approval of somebody else because you can't find that approval within yourself. Through horrific and uncomfortable images, Together presents a metaphoric and often abstract look at how far people will go to stay with the wrong person as opposed to breaking away from them in a more healthy way. It also shows how staying in a bad situation and a toxic relationship can cause a lifetime of pain, abuse, and a spiral that ends in trauma. On the surface, Together is a horror film, most notably a body horror film. Some of these visuals were so effective, blending together practical effects and CGI in a way that came together naturally and were so impactful that there were times where I felt like I might even have to look away from the screen because I wasn't sure if I can take in what was put into these scenes. Now, while the special effects were effective, there were times during this movie where they used comedic elements to kind of lighten the mood and add some levity. Some of those moments were effective, but at times it did feel like they were sprinkling them in just a bit too much. For me, I like a serious film that goes hard and serious all the way through. Once in a while, if comedy is used, I really don't mind, but there's a line that you don't really want to cross. And I'm not saying that the Together film is crossing that line, but it comes pretty close, especially towards the end. Dave Franco and Alison Brie are the anchors of this film. Sure, there are other characters with varying degrees of importance, but this story is solely about them and their relationship. It's interesting to be able to take a look at both different characters and see how they each handle the trauma, the abuse, and the neglect that is all coming to the surface after years of a buildup. I want to make sure to give a special shout out to Michael Shanks. This is his directorial debut, and if this is the way you're going to kick down the door and present your talents on a silver platter for the first time, it's an awesome way to do so, and I can't wait to see what he comes up with next. Now, while I think Together is one of the best horror films of the year, it's not going to be for everybody. When you start dealing with different subgenres of horror, that's when some folks decide to check out. Together can be pretty abstract at times, and it deviates from the more traditional linear storytelling that we see in most films. If that's the type of movie that you're looking for, Together might be a bridge too far for you. Together first premiered at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival in January of 2025. Critical acclaim quickly followed, and it was picked up by Neon for distribution in the United States, and in Australia by Kismet Movies. Because I was able to check this out at an early access, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't have an audience score projected, but it does currently have its Tomato Meter critic score. And with 55 reported reviews, Together has a 100% score. Going into Together, I had a general idea of what to expect. But in a film like this, if it's handled correctly, your expectations are going to be thrown all over the place and your mind's going to be blown. And that was the case with Michael Shanks' Together. Despite being a bit comedic at times, I was able to overlook that and really enjoy myself. And I even got myself thinking about some of the themes that were presented in the film when I wasn't trying to look away at the grotesque and highly effective visuals. Together is one of the best films of 2025. And if this is a type of film that's up your alley, I would highly recommend it, as it comes in with a strong 4.5 out of 5-star rating. Alright, guys, have you had a chance to check out Together? If so, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to continue this conversation, I'll drop my link to Letterboxd and Twitter X, as well as my TikTok, where I present shorter form reviews and rankings. But remember, at the end of the day, the most important thing is to keep watching movies.